Welcome to the Inspiring Leaders podcast of Diversify. Our guest today is Paramita Mahera. Paramita is a leadership coach, facilitator, and speaker known for her ability to create spaces of transformation, inclusion, and hope. With 2 decades of experience in leadership development and coaching, she works with leaders across industries to unlock potential, embrace second chances, and design futures filled with possibility. Her philosophy is rooted in the belief that leadership is not about titles, but about influence, impact, and presence. She has a gift for asking powerful questions, reframing challenges into opportunities, and guiding individuals to discover their authentic voice. Her work often centers around helping professionals, especially women and underrepresented groups, move beyond self-doubt and embrace the ability to lead with courage and compassion. Welcome to our podcast.
Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm delighted to be here.
Same here. So tell us a little bit about your background and how did you get started in your career and why did you decide to become a coach?
So, my career started off with an organization called Times of India. I was doing space selling, and I then navigated into different industries, different sectors, because that time family was most important to me more than career. At this time, the family is settled, so career definitely has become more of a priority.
Yes.
So I started with Response and I ended up by being the head of training and development in a BFSI company. That's been my journey of over 2 decades. What I learned in that journey is that leadership is not about titles. It's about the learning you have and how you empower others around in that journey. Your question on how did I land up being a coach? Life has strange ways to take us to places that we never knew we would be at, but the universe probably has it planned. So I was navigating some personal challenges in life and had to hire a coach. Was introduced to coaching, found it very, very helpful and useful. And then after my career, there was a sabbatical about 8, 10 years back. So what do I do was the next question. And when I was getting coached, I also brought this up for exploration with my coach. And she said, I think you have the potential to become a coach yourself. So why don't you give this a shot? And that's what brought me here. Also, in my career, I've always wanted to lead others and help them become better version of themselves by inspiring them as a leader. So coaching gave me that opportunity to empower people by not being a frontline leader, but playing in the background. So yeah, holding space basically.
Yeah, so that's something you have done for a long time is already in your corporate career to hold the space, to be there for other people. So now, what pivotal experiences shaped your journey and how did they influence the way that you show up as a professional today?
Sure. My leadership journey wasn't shaped by one single moment, Sylvia. It's been a series of pivotal experiences, navigating setbacks, adapting to different working styles and different corporate cultures. I learning to lead without authority in diverse teams, and I believe that each challenge has built resilience, empathy, and self-awareness as I move from one level to another. Today, I show up as a professional who listens deeply, embraces differences, and leads from a place of purpose rather than position.
So I think that is something that we would love to learn from you. Is like how do you lead with purpose and not have to assert your position in order to have the power to help people and transform people into leaders themselves, right?
Hmm.
So you are seen as an influential professional. So what do you believe has helped you build the credibility and influence in your field?
I believe credibility and influence are built through consistency, integrity, and a space of generosity. For me, it's less about being the loudest voice always in the room. It's more about being the most trusted. That's been important. So, if you show up as a trusted partner to your teams, to your stakeholders, then you create the influence and impact. If you're able to keep commitments and show up authentically by investing in people's growth, then I think influence and impact is just an outcome of that, Sylvia.
Okay, so now taking this a little step further. So how can people on this that are listening to this podcast
Hmm.
actually do something to move in that direction? Is there some tip or something that you can give them to say, okay, if you want to lead with influence, impact, and presence, what can you actually do? What is the first step that people can take?
Be authentic, know your values, and have your purpose clear, is what I'd say.
That sounds great, but what does be authentic mean? Because that is that is a tricky one, right? People say be authentic, but what do people mean when they say that? And I think there might be many different definitions. So what is your definition of that?
Being myself, being okay with mistakes, showing up like Brené Brown says, with vulnerability and courage.
Okay.
Leaders, the best leaders in the world are those who've acknowledged that we are not always perfect. We've learned lessons along the way. But this is where we would like to share our wisdom and then leave it at that. Own who
Right?
you are, I mean, if you're the quiet kind, be okay being the quiet kind and working in the shadows. If you're the loud kind, then be okay being the loud, flashy kind. Both are okay. Both have their space under the sun.
So what do you say to people if they come back to you and say, okay, I tried this and I've tried to show up more authentically, but actually I find in the environment that I'm in, that's not actually what people really want me to do. So then what do we do?
Then I ask them, okay, so what do you want to do about it? And I look at it at three levels. I call it the ITO framework: individual, team, and organization. As an individual, why do you feel the need to be authentic? What does the team need? Does it need the team or the system, which we call the organization? Do they need you to be authentic? And if not, why are you feeling that need? Number one.
Hmm.
Number two, what's coming in the way of them accepting you as authentic? Sometimes I may have shown up in a particular way, and people around have got used to me being that. When I show up differently, it's going to naturally create some kind of different response and reaction, and it's going to be take a while to settle in, right? It's like driving on a different road. A smooth road is a smooth drive, but if the road is a little rugged, you're going to have a few bumps. So you have to be okay as a leader to be ready to face those bumps and then see. More importantly, as I started my career in sales, response was all about space selling. One thing I learned very early then is WIFM, what's in it for me? So if you can make the team that's not accepting you authentically understand what's in it for them if you show up this way, I think things would change. The why has to be clear for the individual first before he or she takes it to any other level.
That's very powerful. Thank you so much. So, to another topic, in terms of diversity and inclusion, in your view, what does true diversity and inclusion look like in leadership? Have you worked to embody or champion that in your career, and what does that look like?
Yes, I have. And I've been doing it more aggressively in the last few years. True diversity and inclusion, Sylvia, is not just about representation. It's about building belonging.
Mm.
It's when the voices at the table are not only heard, but we also act upon them. Throughout my career, especially in my last position in a BFSI firm, I've championed diversity and inclusion by mentoring women creating a safe space for dialogue and encouraging organizations to move from policies to real practices. Because I believe true diversity and inclusion is not about ensuring that, there's a representation of only gender, but it's beyond that.
Yeah,
And also
okay.
about ensuring that others don't have to fight the battles that you had to fight. In this case, that I had to fight to have my place in that organization or system.
Diversity and inclusion is obviously a main topic for us at Diversify, right?
Right.
So in the developments in this year 2025, obviously there's a lot gotten reversed that has been hard earned over decades, you can
Yeah.
say. And how do you counter that, or how do you work with companies to understand that D&I is not just something you do when it's easy? It's even more important to do it when it's not easy. And when budget cuts are happening and, all kinds of, parameters or variables in the equation change, how do you keep organizations on the track to not lose everything they've gained for decades on the D&I journey? What is
That's
your recommendation?
sure. And that's a lovely question, a very thought-provoking question. And as you rightly said, things have changed in recent times, especially over the last few months. So I've been working with few organizations, especially in the manufacturing sector and in the BFSI sector, where they are taking this diversity and inclusion beyond just gender sensitization. In India and overseas, there remain a few companies that, in spite of budget cuts, are working on promoting diversity and inclusion by saying, okay, we will look at best practices for including special cases or ADHD cases, or people who may have same-sex preference also, for that matter. I know organizations in India and overseas who've created policies. Like I said, it's all about acting upon beyond the, just the lip service. They've created policies where people of same gender, they come together as a couple and adopt a child, then they get the same benefits as a regular parental couple would. There have been cases where in Indian companies, they've created special policies to make people with certain conditions and challenges feel included. So budget cuts do reduce the interventions, but here's how I work. I say, let's not talk session by session. Let's talk about a journey. And in that journey, while my fee may have got reduced, I'll bring in some pro bono work so that consistency remains. As I said, consistency of practice is very important. You don't do it as a tick box exercise, like one does a posh. So diversity and inclusion is not a posh training which some organizations do as a tick box.
Yes.
So if one really believes in purpose, like I said, then I think money will come when it has to. But you got to make sure that you find a way to influence the stakeholders and management to agree to a leadership journey in D&I.
Yes, that's very important. Consistency, I completely agree, is actually most important
Yeah.
to really keep, because transformation doesn't happen overnight. You actually need consistent application
And
to
and
learn
beyond
new
the
behaviors.
facilitation and the coaching I do, we equip the leaders, the team leads, and the department leads to themselves be role models in this. Only then will it sustain. So it has to be top down.
Right, exactly. Okay, moving on to the next question is about transformation and second chances. So, can you share a story where you or someone you coach turned a challenge into an opportunity, and maybe a second chance example?
Sure. I believe one of the most powerful transformations I witnessed was that of a professional who came to me after a career setback, Sylvia. They had lost confidence and felt that, their career path had ended. But through executive coaching, they rediscovered their strengths, reframed failure as feedback, and eventually transitioned into a leadership role in a different industry, of course. This story reminds me that challenges often carry with them the seeds of reinvention if we choose to see them. So, to your questions, second chances, we all come across second chances in life.
Mm.
But do we grab them or do we just let them pass by? That's the question to ponder on. Second chance, as the name suggests, is another chance or opportunity to pick yourself up and run. Be in the running race, whether it's in personal space or whether it's in the professional space. Someone may have had a sabbatical, because they were pregnant, or the spouse may have had to take a break because they moved countries or they moved regions. I know a gentleman who had to take a career break. It's not only women, even men sometimes take career breaks because he had a major heart attack and it took him more than the minimum time to recover from it. So after that gap of about 2 years and not being in an organization, coming back, he had two choices, to continue at the old level where he was, or to leave that organization and start afresh somewhere else. So he chose the latter. And that's where the second chance came in. Life gave him a second chance to start afresh at a
That's a
position.
very nice example. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. So, is there one last advice that you would like to give women professionals or underrepresented groups who aspire to step into leadership roles and create meaningful impact? What would be your advice to them?
Own your story, own your narrative, own your authenticity, because your uniqueness is your strength. And especially for women, do not wait for permission to lead. Start leading wherever you are, whether you are at an starting level. You're not a leader of leaders, you're just an IC there. It's okay. Start with what you have. Seek mentors and allies and be willing to be held.
Right.
Above all, build a strong inner compass, because you shouldn't shrink into spaces, but expand the space to be where you want. You make the space for where you want to be and how you want to be in this world. That's my advice to them.
Great. Action-oriented advice. And thank you so much for being here with us today on the Diversify Inspiring Leaders podcast. And we are looking forward to having you again, potentially for a fireside chat later this year. And we'll look forward to hosting you on that. So anybody listening to this podcast today, please check out her LinkedIn profile and stay tuned for a fireside chat where you can join live and ask questions, directly engage with her. And we look forward to having you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, and see you all soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.